guys, thank you for coming back. And this is part 2 of the NASW Code of Ethics review by the LCSW Vibes, or your girl Ariza Hillman. And we're going to be talking about the purpose of the NASW Code of Ethics. If you are new to this series, the first part was on the overview and the preamble. You can watch that video first, and then it flows. We're going to go over the purpose of the NASW Code of Ethics today, and then we're going to continuously move through the code so you can have a complete walkthrough and a complete understanding of the Code of Ethics and what it is actually saying, and make it part of your weekly routine. Some of you guys, I know it's your daily routine, but I'm saying at the bare minimum, make sure it's part of your weekly routine so you can understand it. All right, without further ado, the purpose of the NASW Code of Ethics. Professional ethics are at the core of social work. The profession has an obligation to articulate its basic values, ethical principles, and ethical standards. The NASW Code of Ethics sets forth these values, principles, and standards to guide social workers' conduct. The code is relevant to all social workers and social work students, regardless of their professional functions, the setting in which they work, or the populations in which they serve. So this is very self-explanatory, but your girl is going to tell you. This basically means the purpose of this code of ethics. It doesn't matter if you have your doctorate in social work. It doesn't matter if you have your PhD in research in social work. It doesn't matter if you're a bachelor's in social work or a master's level in social work, whether you're LMSW or LCSW. The bottom line is this code is relevant to all of us. Even if you're a student in a social work program, this code of ethics is relevant to all of us, regardless of our job, regardless of our role, regardless of our title. We are all social workers. And it doesn't matter if you work in hospice, if you work in education, if you work in a jail setting, if you work in other institutions, you still have to adhere to this code of ethics. That is basically what the purpose of this code of ethics is and what it's letting us know that we have to do and have to adhere to. All right, so let's talk about the NASW Code of Ethics' 6 purposes. Number 1, the code identifies core values on which social work's mission is based. Number 2, the code summarizes broad ethical principles that reflect the profession's core values and establishes a set of specific ethical standards that should be used to guide social work practice. Number 3, the code is designed to help social workers identify relevant considerations when professional obligations conflict or ethical uncertainties arise. Number 4, follow with me. Number 4, the code provides ethical standards to which the general public can hold the social worker profession or the social work profession accountable. Number 5, the code socializes practitioners new to the field to social work's mission, values, ethical principles, and ethical standards, and encourages all social workers to engage in self-care, ongoing education, and other activities to ensure their commitment to those same core features of the profession. And number 6, the code articulates standards that the social work profession itself can use to assess whether social workers have engaged in unethical conduct. The NASW has formal procedures to adjudicate ethics complaints filed against its members. In subscribing to this code, social workers are required to cooperate in its implementation, participate in NASW adjudication proceedings, and abide by any NASW disciplinary rulings or sanctions based on it. So guys, this was a lot of information. So I want you to take a moment and look at this really quickly. These are the 6 purposes of the NASW Code of Ethics. This is what it's used for. It is used, number 1, so we can identify core values. Number 2, so we can summarize those broad ethical principles that reflect our profession. Number 3, is designed so we can identify relevant considerations and the obligations when it comes to conflict or some type of unethical or ethical uncertainties. This is what this code is designed to help us maneuver through. Number 4, it provides ethical standards so the general public. So when you're working in the school system or you're working in the hospice, you're working in different places, other professions can hold us accountable based on this code. It lets the general public public and other people know, hey, they're a social worker and we need to hold them accountable because their code of ethics says blah, blah, blah. So that's another thing. Number 5, the code socializes practitioners. So if you're new in the field and you just started, this code is letting you know the missions, the values, and the ethical principles and standards that you must be aware of as a social worker. You have to engage in self-care. You have to have ongoing education. All of this is required and stated in the code of ethics right here that you're reviewing. And number 6, it articulates the standards the social work professions itself can use to assess whether there's something being done that needs to be corrected. So if it's some unethical conduct, or say there's an adjudication hearing or something taking place, this code of ethics provides the formal procedures on how to move forward and when things are filed against our members and how they can participate in the NASW adjudications and all that stuff. The code provides it all, guys. So this is the landmark. This is the main thing that we need to focus on and adhere to in our profession. So it's hella important, guys, that you have an understanding of the code of ethics, what it means, what it says, and what it does. So definitely write down those 6 or make your little note card so you can have a thorough understanding of it and break it down and simplify it so it makes sense to you. Hey guys, real quick, it's your girl. I wanted to stop by and show you I got my merch. Yes, everything is up in action. You guys have been asking for it, so make sure you go to the Shopify store and check it out. Right there, arizahillman.shop. Check it out. You get the nice little package in the mail right before the holidays. Look at that. Oh, baby, I'm telling you, I'm gonna be rocking this all winter long. And then the summertime come, I already got the request for the tank tops. Your girl is working on it. So make sure you stop by the Shopify store. Right at the bottom of this description, you'll see the store and just go ahead and purchase some merch. See you soon. All right. The code offers a set of values, principles, and standards to guide decision-making and conduct when ethical issues arise. It does not, listen guys, I repeat, it does not provide a set of rules that prescribe how social workers should act in all situations. Specific applications of the code must take into account the context in which it is being considered and the possibility of conflicts among the code's values, the code's principles, and the code's standards. Ethical responsibilities flow from all human relationships, from personal and familial to social and professional. So please make sure you understand that and you can adhere to what it is actually stating. Furthermore, the NASW Code of Ethics does not specify which values, which principles, and standards are most important and ought to outweigh others in instances when they conflict. So this is really important because a lot of times we'll look at a code of ethics and we're trying to figure out which one is most important or which one should we do first or how do we handle that. It says specifically here, the code doesn't specify that if a certain value, a certain principle, a certain standard trumps the others. So it doesn't say that one outweighs the other. So this is really important information to know and understand as you read and go through your code. Reasonable differences of opinion can and do exist among social workers with respect to the ways in which values, ethical principles, and ethical standards should be ranked and ordered when they're dealing with conflict. Ethical decision making is in a given situation, must apply the informed judgment of the individual social worker and should also consider how the issues would be judged in a peer review process where ethical standards of the profession would be applied. So basically just think about it. If you're dealing with the ethical dilemma or a situation, instead of going through like whether this principle says this and is better or this standard or this value, think about if you were being judged in a peer review process, how would you be looked upon or how would the information you're providing be relevant or shown to be correct or that you're following the code? That is pretty much what you want to think about when you're dealing with these ethical dilemmas or situations. Ethical decision making is a process. In situations when conflicting obligations arise, social workers may be faced with complex ethical dilemmas that have no simple answers. Social workers should take into consideration all the values, all the principles, and the standards in this code that are relevant to any situation in which ethical judgment is warranted. Social workers' decisions and actions should be consistent with the spirit as well as with the letter of this code. In addition to this code, there are many other sources of information about ethical thinking that may be useful. Social workers should consider ethical theory in general and principles generally, social work theory and research, laws, regulations, agency policies, and other relevant code codes of ethics. This is super important, guys, because the code of ethics is a tool and it is a guide and it is something that we should all adhere to in our profession. However, even the code is telling us that we have to expand our knowledge and we have to use other things to make sure we're really up to date and we're really understanding what is expected of us as a professional in this profession. So it says social work theory and research, laws, regulations, agency policies, and other relevant code of ethics, recognizing that among codes of ethics, social workers should consider the NASW Code of Ethics as their primary source. But if you know, every profession has their own code of ethics, so we should be aware of it. We should have understanding because you're working with a lot of different colleagues and people from all walks of life. Some are going to be psychologists, some are going to be psychiatrists, some are going to be professional counselors. So you definitely want to make sure that you understand they also have a code that they have to follow. And I've worked at agencies where we all had to review the code and we reviewed different codes. So it was really important. We were aware, should I say, of everyone's code of ethics, the important parts. We didn't go through all of it in its entirety, but we did know how certain codes stuck out and certain things that may be said in our code that wasn't said in another and vice versa. All right. Social workers also should be aware of the impact on ethical decision making. All right, here, ethical decision making of their clients in their own personal values, cultural and religious beliefs and practice. They should be aware of any conflicts between personal and professional values and deal with them responsibly. For additional guidance, social workers should consult the relevant literature on professional ethics and ethical decision making and seek appropriate consultation when faced with ethical dilemmas. This may involve consultation with an agency-based or a social work organization ethics committee, a regulatory body, knowledgeable colleagues, supervisor, legal counsel. Keep this in mind, guys. We have to be able to do all of these and have an understanding of different ways that we can get our knowledge and deal with certain situations that arise in our profession. Instances may arise when social workers' ethical obligations conflict with agency policies or relevant laws or regulation. When such conflicts occur, social workers must make a responsible effort to resolve the conflict in a manner that is consistent with the values, the principles, and standards expressed in this code. If a reasonable resolution of the conflict does not appear possible, social workers should seek proper consultation before making a decision. I repeat, if a reasonable resolution of the conflict does not appear possible, social workers should seek proper consultation before making a decision. Hey guys, if you're tired of studying alone or second guessing every ASWB question, you need this. Go to chat.lcswvibes.com. Yes, this is the AI tutor for LCSW Vibes, your study partner that never sleeps. Ask it anything and get instant explanations. Practice real ASWB style questions. Get answers with the rationales. Build a personalized study plan and even learn the FMBM method step by step. I'm telling you, people are leveling up faster than ever. If you're tired of spending money on test prep materials and you just need one thing that's going to help get you to the finish line, this is the investment you need to make. Check it out. Talk to you soon. The NASW Code of Ethics is to be used by the NASW and by individuals, by agencies, by organizations, and bodies such as licensing and regulatory boards, professional liability insurance providers, courts of law, agency boards of directors, government agencies, and other professional groups that choose to adopt it or to use it as a frame of reference. So with this being said, it's saying that the Code of Ethics can be used by other individuals outside of the social work profession if they choose to use this as a frame of reference. Now, violation of the standards in this code does not automatically imply legal liability of violation of the law. Such determination can only be made in the context of legal and judicial proceedings. Alleged violations of the code would be subject to a peer review process. Such processes are generally separate from legal or administrative procedures and insulated from legal review or proceedings to allow the profession to counsel and discipline its own members. So listen, guys, determination can only be made in the context of legal and judicial proceedings. So if there's something going on legally or a violation of the code, there is a proceeding that has to take place. Any alleged violations of this code can be subject to a peer review where you're meeting with your peers, and it's a process that you will go through. The process is generally separate from legal and administration. So if you have a legal hearing or administrative hearing, these things can be done differently. And they're going to review, you're going to have a legal review, you're going to have proceedings and all of that stuff. But remember, it is allowed in the profession, well, our profession, the counsel and discipline is done by its own members. So in other words, they're not going to pull people from other disciplines to make decisions on these legal situations. It's going to be with your peers and it's going to be with your own members of the NASW code. Now, a code of ethics cannot guarantee ethical behavior. Moreover, a code of ethics cannot resolve all ethical issues or disputes or capture the richness and the complexity involved in striving to make responsible choices within a moral community. Basically, in a nutshell, the code of ethics cannot resolve and solve everything. It's not something that's going to make you, as soon as it's there, it's like, no worries, no issues. It cannot guarantee that every social worker is going to act ethically, for sure. But it is something that we will be held accountable for or accountable to if we are doing things that are considered to be unethical or against the community, the moral values of social workers. A code of ethics sets forth the values, the ethical principles, and the standards in which a profession aspire and by which their actions can be judged. That is the key. That is what we have to remember when it comes to this code of ethics, for sure. Social workers' ethical behavior should result from their personal commitment to engage in ethical practice. The NASW Code of Ethics reflects the commitment of all social workers to uphold the profession's values and to act ethically. Principles and standards must be applied by individuals of good character who discern moral questions and, in good faith, seek to make reliable ethical judgments. So guys, this is a lot of information to go through. So I strongly recommend that you take note cards, write the information down, get you a notebook that's called the Code of Ethics, and you write down your own notes. I first and foremost recommend that you go and you purchase this. This is less than $10. I think it's like $7, and you'll get it as an ebook format. And you can get it as a PDF, download as a PDF, but you get it like an ebook format, and you can read it on your iPad, you can have it on your laptop, you can have it on different devices. As you can see, I downloaded mine as a PDF so that way I can have it with me. I have a copy I can carry around. All of those things, you want to make sure that you have access to it, guys, because this is really, really, really important that you understand, and it's a lot of information. So the best way I can think about it is the Bible. Most people don't get the Bible and just read it in its entirety. You have Bible study, meaning you read scriptures and you kind of dissect it, you meditate, and you go over it, and then you get extra support and resources to make sure you truly have an understanding of it. So some of you might get me because you don't like that analogy, but again, it's just that. It's an analogy. For our profession, this is the context. This is something that we have to look at, but we don't want to just go through it in its entirety and then just feel like, oh, we know it. It takes time, guys. So give yourself time, give yourself grace, and go over this information the best way you know how, slowly and digestible. Just think about this code as being a huge steak, and it's covering one side of the table to the other. If you got to make your way through the whole steak, you're going to take it one bite at a time. You're not going to just try to devour the whole thing. And that is what I want you to think about when you're reading this code of ethics and going through the information, for sure. All right. So as we know, the NASW Code of Ethics reflects the commitments of all social workers to uphold its profession's values, and it helps us act ethically. We want to make sure that we're in good faith. We want to seek and make reliable ethical judgments. That is all what this code is about and what it's explaining that we must do. So with the growth in the use of communication, technology, and various aspects of social work practice, social workers also need to be aware of the unique challenges that may arise in relation to the maintenance of confidentiality, informed consent, professional boundaries, professional competence, record keeping, and other ethical considerations. In general, all ethical standards in this code of ethics are applicable to interactions, to relationships, and or communications. So whether they occur in person or whether they happen over the use of technology, we all are held responsible, guys, for this code of ethics. So for the purpose of this code, technology assistant social work services, which what I'm doing now, providing a service, and it's virtually. I do that with therapy. I do that with coaching. I'm doing it with test prep. This is all forms of social work that I'm providing a service, and I am doing it through technology. So for the purpose of the code, technology assisted social work services include all of these things when you're using a computer or mobile or landline. I know some of you probably don't know what a landline is, but Oh, I'm sorry, I'm staying on track. All right, tablets, video technology, or other electronic or digital technology. This includes the use of various electronic or digital platforms, such as the internet, such as online social media, chat rooms, text messaging, email, emerging digital application. Things are changing and evolving all the time. Technology-assisted social work services encompass all aspects of social work practice, including psychotherapy, individual, family, group, counseling, community organization, administration, advocacy, mediation, education, supervision, research, evaluation. All of these social work services can be done, and we must adhere to them with technology assisted techniques. And we have to make sure that this code is being followed, even in those aspects. All right, guys, real quick, I'm always talking about the community, the LCSW Vibes. We leveling up, and this is the sneak peek of the community. As you can see, it's on and popping. We got a lot happening. I got ethics over here, human development, or study guides that you guys asked me about on the YouTube channels, all right there. Test questions. You just want to level up and learn and see if you can answer those questions. I'm testing your knowledge. Let me go back to the home screen. If you want to learn more about what services I offer and what other things are there, that is where you go to the learning tabs. We leveling up, so why don't you join so you can level up too. Social workers should keep apprised of emerging technological developments that may be used in social work practice and how various ethical standards apply to them. Professional self-care is paramount for competent and ethical social work practice. So even myself, who is a diehard social worker, and I know I work hard and I do a lot of different things within the field of social work, I make sure, guys, if I don't do anything else, that I practice self-care. That is listed here in the Code of Ethics. You're obligated. For those of you that studying 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours a week or a day, you're literally a day for this exam, and you're putting your heart and soul and everything in it, the code is telling you that you need to take a break. You need to make sure that you have self-care. I do a lot of traveling. I go to a lot of concerts. I do a lot of fun, engaging things. I spend a lot of time with my family. I travel to see my daughter in college. Like, there's just I always make time for me and my family and those that matter the most to me, because this is really, really important. Because the more I show up and give myself the opportunity to musa and have good self-care, I'm able to show up and provide the things that I'm providing to you guys. So keep in mind, to be the best version of yourself, you got to first show up for yourself. And that is recognizing when you need to take a break or you need to do something. And it says right here, matter of fact, I'm going to do a fake highlight. Professional self-care is paramount for competent and ethical social work practice. If you don't have self-care, then it's hard for you to be competent and provide ethical work practice. Professional demands, challenging workplace climates, exposure to trauma warrant that social workers maintain personal and professional health, safety, and integrity. So integrity is doing the right thing even when nobody's looking. So even if you know that you work 40, 60, 70 hours a week and nobody else knows that you've done all that, and you up there still showing up to your clients and doing therapy sessions, you know in your heart that you shouldn't be doing that you need to take a break and you need to slow it down. That is basically what this is saying. So please check yourself before you wreck yourself. And that is hella important, guys. Make sure we deal with trauma, we deal with abuse, we deal with neglect, we deal with so much stuff, and it's a lot, and it can be heavy on our hearts. So we got to make sure we have self-care. I'm so happy that you guys are able to see this in the code verbatim, because if you don't take anything else from what I read today, make sure you take that you got to take care of yourself. Because you take care of yourself, all the other things will happen naturally, and you'll be able to show up and be the best version of yourself and know how to use this code appropriately, because you're well rested, because you invested in who you are as a person. So I'm gonna get off my tangent, but I just wanted to share that with you guys. Please, please, please. It says social work organizations, agencies, and educational institutions are encouraged to promote organizational policies, practices, and materials that support social workers' self-care. So if you work for a job or a place and they just giving you more cases, give you more hours, they clearly are not adhering to the social work code of ethics. All right. And if they're not, you need to be. So you need to make sure that you schedule your leave, schedule your time off. And even while you're studying for this, just take a day, go get a massage, go for a walk, go eat a gallon of ice cream. No, don't do that. But seriously, make sure you do something that just makes you happy, makes your heart glad. That will get you closer to the win than anything else, because you'll be in a good mood and a good spirit. And that energy carries on to where you need to be. All right. For information on the NASW professional review process, see the NASW procedures and professional review guys. So I know we talk about the code, but there are other literature and processes and things that you need to read and be aware of, or at least know how to find them if you need to. I hope this was helpful for you. This was part 2 of the NASW Code of Ethics, the LCSW Vibes way. The next section we will go over is ethical principles. So stay tuned. Make sure before you jump onto this, you review the other video, the one right now that we're ending, in its entirety to make sure you truly have an understanding of it, that it makes sense, that it's registering, that it's easy, digestible, and you just feel like, okay, I got this, I'm understanding it, I know what's being asked of me, I know what it means, and all that good stuff. And then when you can do that, see if you can check with someone and say, hey, I want to talk to you a little bit about my code of ethics, or record yourself, or get a study buddy and just go over what you learned and what makes sense to you now that maybe didn't make sense before. Or if you're struggling with something that's in the codes and it just didn't make sense or it's just not clear to you, make sure you ask the questions. Put it in the comment section and say, look, I'm struggling. I don't really understand what the code means when it says this. And then we can talk about it. I'm not saying I'm all knowing. There's a lot of things I don't know, but there's a lot of things I do know. So I am going to stick in my expertise in the areas that I know. And if I can answer you, I will. If not, I always know who to direct you to or where to direct you to. All right. Thank you so much for staying with me for part 2 of the LCSW Vibes Code of Ethics. Hopefully this is a game changer and is helpful for you guys. Let me know and stay tuned for part 3. Talk to you soon.